I'd like to thank you for all coming here today to help us celebrate this opening of Greg's Field. It's a great honor for all of us that are on the committee to be here. Before I get started, I'd just like to say that we have some commemorative programs available on the table up there. They have a list of all the people who donated, and I'll tell you, it's a very long list. I'd like to thank Brandy Phillips, who put that together. It's a great little package, and again, it lists all the donors who've helped us out tremendously. I'd also particularly like to welcome all the members of the Soa and Montalbano families, Dana Hotchkiss, and their extended families for joining us here today. Thank you all for coming. I've been privileged to have known the Montalbano family and the Soa family for a long time. Greg's mom, Sharon, and I were dance partners in the 6th grade. Remember that, Sharon, I hope. And not to offend Andy, I played softball with Andy for almost 30 years. So we go back a long way. If I could at this time, I'd like to have Monsignor Mike Foley of St. Luke's Church come up and say a few words. And Mike was a great baseball player on his own right as well.
Adequate. You know, this is one of those days that we carry a great deal of sadness because someone who is very dear to so many of us here is no longer here to share the day with us. But it's also a day of celebration, of recognition, and especially of seeing the types of values that are so important to us as human beings. I mean, Greg was obviously a great athlete. This is where he played out in that field, and really learned the game and learned all the good things about the game. That he had his opportunities in life and really made the most of what was offered to him. And I got to know him, unfortunately, near the end of his life, and I probably saw the most courageous part, the part where someone is able to deal with some of the harshness that life can bring and deal with dignity and have a sense of care and compassion for others, even as he was suffering himself. I guess my prayer today is this: the kids who are going to play in this field, just beginning the journey, will look at the plaque and get to know a little bit of the story of Greg Montalbano, and really, first of all, have fun with the game. It's really it's a great game, and you'll make great friends. You learn a lot of the things about life that are so important. But then realize that it's a game that is only a little part of your life, and that the qualities of goodness and care and compassion, your love of your God and your family and your country, your respect for your coaches and the adults around you, all of that is something you can bring throughout your life. And Greg was a great example of that. And the real courage that he showed was in his young life as he faced his death. He stayed to be even a very courageous man. And through the many years of fighting a very terrible illness, he helped an awful lot of people. And I guess my prayer for you is that this is a heritage that belongs to you, in a very personal way, playing on this field and remembering Greg Montalbano.
Thank you very much, Monsignor. If I could now, too, I'd like to introduce to you the Greg Montalbano Committee. To my left, we have Pat Fallon, John Lusick, Randy Phillips, Earl Story, and Matt Story. I want to thank all of them for all their hard work with this. They've done a great job, and it's been a great committee to work on. To date, we've raised $13,500. I mean, it was way over our expectations. Way over our expectations. I mean, the support and generosity of this community is just fabulous. The friends, family, and just many others who were inspired by Greg was truly amazing to us. It is our intention to keep this fund alive, to keep the fund open. All the monies that are going to remain in the fund will be used to sponsor a Little League team in the future, starting next year, in Greg's honor. And in years to come, that team will stay and it'll be Greg's team. We'll also be making some improvements to Greg's fields, and we'll use some of the money for that as well. If I could, I'd like to recognize a few other people today. I'd like to recognize the Westboro Board of Selectmen, who were 100% behind us when we came to them and asked them about renaming this piece of public property. So I'd like to thank them. I'd like to thank Mark and Don Pillsbury of Pillsbury Sign Company. If you haven't had a chance to see the fabulous sign down here that they did, it is just amazing. There's a great likeness of a left-handed pitcher on that, and that's Greg Montalbano. Also, you'll get to see the plaque that we'll be unveiling soon, and they did that and just did a fabulous job on that plaque as well. Lastly, I'd like to thank Matt and Earl Story, who put all of this together. This was a lot of work putting all this together. They put a lot of hard work, hard labor, but it was a labor of love, I know, for both of them, and I thank them for doing that. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank the Westboro Little League managers, Craig Nichols of the Westboro Country Club team, Dan Flayhive of the Bogart construction team, all their assistant coaches who are standing over there, and all the players on both teams that are joining us here today. And if I could ask you guys to do something for me right now, would you mind standing up, all the players, and turn around? This is Westboro Little League and these players' tribute to Greg. If you can't see it, it says Montalbano and has Greg's number on it, 22. Guys, that really means a lot. Thank you very much, very, very much. Now, if you would, I'd like to ask a couple of the players. I think a couple of the players have a shirt. I think it's Ryan Nichols and Kevin Flayhive for right now. Oh, Brendan McGrath. I'm very sorry. Brendan? And they would like to give a shirt to the Montalbano family if you guys want to come forward. These guys wanted to give you a shirt. Thank you. And Greg would be thrilled particularly to see these Little Leaguers here today. And I just want to tell you guys something that you can remember forever, that you're the last team to ever play on the Upton Road fields, and you're going to be the first players to ever play on Greg's field. So you can remember that forever. You'll be the first guys to ever play on Greg's field. That's a real honor. As Father Foley said, 20 years ago, Greg Montalbano got his start as a baseball player on this very field. He pitched on that pitcher's mound, and he got his first hits from that batter's box right up there. Some of his Village Lumber teammates are even here today. I know I saw Steve Connie out there. I saw Chris Mata, Pat Fallon, Matt Story from our commission. I know there were a few others that were going to try to make it, Mike Connon, Jim Igo, and Chris Hopkins. I don't know if they were able to, but I appreciate very much they're coming down today. That's a great tribute to Greg and a great honor to have you guys here. I am also truly honored to be able to say that I was one of Greg's coaches when he played for Village Lumber, along with his dad, Andy, and a friend of ours, Bunky McDowell. So that's something that I'm going to remember forever. At this time, too, I'd like Dylan Connors of the Westboro Country Club team to come up and read a page from a report that Greg wrote back 22 years ago, which is kind of ironic, in 1988 when he was a 6th grader. The full report, I'm told, got him an A+. This is just one page from that. Dylan, if you wouldn't mind coming up.
My self-portrait. This is a story about things that I like to do and the people I like. It includes my bike, my career, my family, and the sports I like to play. I hope that you will enjoy reading this. The most important people in my life are my family. They're always there when I need them. Just think of if my parents weren't here. I wouldn't be here. Sometimes we agree, but then again, sometimes we don't. I really enjoy being with my family. My parents say I have a great athletic ability. My favorite position to play in baseball is pitcher. I also like playing wide receiver in football. I'm one of the best power forwards on my basketball team. I really enjoy playing sports. I ride every day to my cousins on my bike and walk to school. My bike comes in handy when I go to friends' houses who live close to my house. My bike gets me where I have to go. I'm glad I have that bike that I have. When I grow up, I want to be a baseball player for the Boston Red Sox. I would like to follow in the footsteps of Mike Greenwell or Roger Clemens. I hope I'm very successful and make it to major leagues. I hope you enjoyed reading my story all about me. I enjoyed writing it. By Greg Montalbano.
Thank you very much, Dylan. And as most of us know, Greg did get to live that dream, and he did get to wear that jersey. He might not have made it to Fenway Park, but I know that there's very many of us here that say if he didn't get this disease, we'd be watching on Greg on TV today, playing for the Red Sox. He was that talented. I'd like to tell you, and I hope I don't bore you with this, but it's what I think is a terrific baseball story, and it involves Westboro and St. John's. I'll try to be as brief as possible I can with it. Greg had a great Westboro-St. John's connection with lots of friends and teammates at both schools. As most of you know, Greg went to St. John's High School, and I was much to my dismay because at the time I was one of the baseball coaches for Westboro High School. Well, this spring 2010, St. John's wanted to honor Greg by holding the first annual Greg Montalbano Baseball Classic. They fittingly asked Westboro High School to play against them for this first ever game. The Westboro baseball team also wanted to honor Greg, and they chose to run a fundraiser. That team raised over $1,000, a baseball team. They invited our committee to a game on May 3rd, and they presented the proceeds to us at that game. And we were thrilled by their thoughtfulness and generosity. On Saturday, May 15th, I attended the ceremony at St. John's. It was a great day and a fitting tribute to Greg. Following the ceremony, St. John's and Westboro played a baseball game. St. John's, who is still currently playing for the Division I state championship, was certainly favored in the game to win. It was a great baseball game, and in the end, Westboro came out ahead 5-4. The final score, however, is relevant only for the following reason. Westboro High School baseball team was just awarded the State Sportsmanship Award by the MIAA. It's a great honor for that team and for Westboro High School. But they learned afterwards made it even more special to them. The team that nominated them for the award was St. John's, the team they had just beat a few weeks earlier. You talk about class and true sportsmanship, that's the example. I think both of these teams truly understood what Greg is all about. Now, if I could, I'd like to introduce you to Greg's sister, Kristen, a terrific athlete herself. She'd like to say a few words, and I believe Sharon and Andy may want to assist her, but I'm going to leave that up to them. Thank you, Kristen.
The ironic part about Greg saying he was the best power forward is that he never made the basketball team when he got into high school. So when my mom came across that and we were looking at it, she said, well, maybe we shouldn't put that in there because Greg was never one to boast. And I said, are you kidding me? That's like the most ironic piece of material we found going through his stuff. We are just absolutely honored here. Members of the Board of Selectmen, our family, friends, and neighbors who've traveled from North Carolina and Washington. It made me cry first thing this morning, and I promised I wouldn't cry because everybody else said if I cry, you'll all cry. So we'll all cry together. Greg liked to get up here and speak off the cuff. His sister, the broadcast journalism major, always comes with notes, but I promise I'll be brief. I remember exactly where I was standing in my parents' kitchen when my mom told me that Frank Desiata had called about naming the Upton Road ball fields after Greg. She barely got the words out, and we both stood there and cried at the thought that his favorite childhood field would be forever known as Greg's Field. We are truly humbled by this incredible honor to remember Greg's legacy. Though his life was cut far too short, my brother exemplified what it means to live every single day to the fullest by pitching a perfect game of life. We are forever grateful that his legacy will live on in the hearts of all the ball players who take these fields in the hours and years to come. I wish Greg were here to see this firsthand. He always thought of himself as just an average Joe, so he'd be wondering what all the fuss is about, but he would be immensely proud. Mom, Dad, Dana, and I thank each and every one of you who have come today to share in this beautiful dedication. And we thank everyone who contributed to the fund to create this lasting memorial. We were blown away by the $13,000 raised, a grand slam far exceeding the committee's fundraising goal. We are thankful to our family and friends, as well as the entire Westboro community, for your unwavering support over the last 13 years. The entire town embraced Greg's career with the Boston Red Sox and the Worcester Tornadoes, with many people traveling to Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Florida to see him pitch. We are truly grateful for the outpouring of support for our family during his illness and passing. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We'd like to specifically thank the Westboro Board of Selectmen, Chairman Rod Janae, Vice Chairman Lydia Goldblatt, Timothy Dodd, Lee Emery, and George Thompson for supporting the renaming of this field. Most importantly, we'd like to thank the members of the committee, as well as several other key players, for their tireless work over the past 10 months to create this lasting legacy. At this time, I'd like to ask my parents to come forward and bring some presents that we brought as a token of our appreciation. As I call your name, please come forward so we can thank you. Frank and Karen Desiata. Karen? Karen, where are you? We're thanking you too because we know that you had a part of this. Oh, good, okay. Sorry. Sorry, she was way in the back there.
I'm always gonna wait for my wife.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Story. Matthew's story. John Lusick. Brandy Phillips. Patrick Fallon. No, you don't have this one. We made sure. In case you're, oh, I won't tell you what they are yet because everyone didn't get theirs. I'll tell you what we gave them when we're done. Don Pillsbury. Don and Mark Pillsbury were very instrumental, as Frank said earlier, with making the sign for the field. And They have been, Don's wife, Connie, has been friends with my mom since 8th grade.
5th grade.
Sorry, 5th grade. Mark Pillsbury. And Mike Johnson. Is Mike here today? Mike isn't able to be here today, so we'll make sure that he gets that award. He brought over one of his own pieces of, is it a bulldozer? He moved the stone with his own bare hands. On behalf of my mom and dad, Dana, and the entire Montalbano and Soa families, we thank you for honoring our Greg through Greg's Field.
Thank you, Kristen, Sharon, and Andy. Now, if I could, I'd like to ask Brandy Phillips to come forward to read a letter from the top slugger for the first place, for now, Tampa Bay Rays. It's a letter from Carlos Pena.
I met Greg in the winter of 1997. I was walking on for the Northeastern University baseball team. Greg, who was one of the up-and-coming star pitchers on the team, did everything in his power to make me feel comfortable and welcome. We would go eat together after every practice and became very good friends. It seemed that Greg was always in a good mood, but the most impressive thing about Greg was the inner peace that he radiated. Later, I understood that he had a different perspective on life. His priorities were very clear: family, friends, respect, love, and gratitude. By the way he conducted himself, it was very evident that he was seeing the world through the eyes of someone whom had been shown a glimpse of what the real purpose of life was. He would laugh often, never complain. He would be quick to encourage his friends when needed, always digging for reasons to applaud the ones that were near him. I remember one day I had a very bad game. I struck out with the bases loaded twice, and we lost the game 1-0. Greg was the first one to pat me on the back and point out that my swings looked great and to keep on swinging. The crazy thing is that Greg was the losing pitcher that day, and instead of feeling bad about the fact he had lost because of lack of run support, despite his great pitching performance, the first thing he did was think of his teammate Carlos. I told him that I had just let him down and our team down, and he answered that the only way I would let him down was if I ever stopped smiling. Guess what we did after that? We went to eat. That was Greg in a nutshell. There will never be another Greg Montalbano. No one can duplicate such a way of life, such an attitude, but we can learn from him to become better. Greg was a true expression of God on earth. He showed me that the purpose of life is to give and experience the maximum expression of love possible. Let it reflect on everything you do, on everyone you meet. We miss you, Greg, and you will always be a part of us, because you left your mark on everything you touched and on everyone you met. We shall never forget you. Thank you, Greg. Carlos Pena.
Thank you so much, Brandy, for reading that. Obviously, our thanks go to Carlos Pena for taking the time to write such a beautiful letter in honor of his friend, Greg Montalbano. Now, if I could, I'd like to introduce Pat Fallon. Pat is Greg's cousin, former Village Lumber teammate, and also one of his dearest and closest friends. Pat? Where are your notes?
Don't worry about it. First, I want to thank the committee for their work and efforts they put in, for everybody, for their donations to make this day possible, and especially for Frank, because, growing up, Greg and I always looked at Frank as our favorite coach that we had ever had. So this is really a special day for me. Kind of ironic, though, because if I remember correctly, Village Lumber was always the team you wanted to play for. They ruled the majors. It was like, you know, you get drafted by Village Lumber, it's like going to play for the Yankees. I don't remember winning a championship when Greg and I played. And it wasn't long after that where Frank must have got his walking papers. I don't know if the folks in the front office didn't want to pay the luxury taxes or what, but I feel somewhat responsible for ending. Hey, how's it going? There's pros and cons to being the last one to speak. One of the pros is everybody says all the great things about Greg. So all I'm doing is restating the obvious. But what I was trying to do is I was trying to think, when I came here, this was when we were growing up, you know, even though Greg, like we had said earlier, never had a chance to play at Fenway Park, this was our Fenway Park. You know, when we were 10, 11, 12 years old, this was it. We didn't have the Rogers Field fields. We didn't have the fields at Target. We had Hastings and Upton Road. And we liked playing at Upton Road because we used to have a fence. And there was the thrill of possibly being able to actually hit a home run. Most of us didn't actually do that, as, you know, Matt's standing here. Most of us didn't get the chance. Although I do remember a young female who I believe Matt and I, probably Greg, doing the walk of shame back to the dugout, having just given a potato to Amanda Young, who used to hit numerous home runs into the parking lot. It was very embarrassing. You know, I was trying to think of other memories I had too, and one of them that stands out, and I had told it before, was one of the kids we played with, Mike Condon, was next at bat. We were over at that dugout on the third baseline, and Mike was getting ready, and he was swinging. And Greg, I don't know where his mind was, but he had grabbed a bat, he just starts walking, he's flailing it around, clubs Mike Condon right in the elbow. Mike's crying, and it was horrible. Mike gets up first pitch, Parks went into the parking lot. So we encouraged Greg after that. Grab a bat, start flailing it around. It was pretty funny. And I was looking around earlier too to see who I saw in the crowd that brought up a memory, and I see Steve Conti back there. I'm guessing you guys still go to Dairy Queen after the game? You got to tell me what the limit is now. What can you buy? You got to have a limit. Medium blizzards. I can remember, I think our limit was like $1.25 at the time. It was great because I can remember Steve always working his dad over to get us up to like $1.85 so we could get the crowd. Things have changed. I think $1.85 might buy you a few Jimmies and a cup. But I mean, this is truly an honor for me personally, because for most of my life, Greg was the closest person I had in my life, and you know, I really don't want to go back. I mean, there was wonderful things said already. Greg was just a tremendous human being. I mean, a lot of people know him for playing baseball and other things, but he just lived life the way we should all live life. You give back to others, you do anything you can to maximize every day that you have, because you just don't know if you're going to have tomorrow. And I know it's something I think about every day, and he was probably the best teacher that I had. And I just hope that, you know, over time, that these kids can appreciate and maybe learn a little bit about Greg's story. And if, you know, just a few of them, you know, can take something out of it, I think everything that's being done here today is 100% worth it. What I want to do now, seeing I have the honor of unveiling and reading the plaque to everyone, I want to have my aunt, uncle, and Kristen come up and help me pull this. You were right, Earl. I asked Earl if he was going to get like a nice old blue tarp to cover it up, and he goes, "I'm getting a silver one. It's going to look good." So I don't know. Earl told me if we just we have some wire cutters here. This might be a good job for the guy that owns the hardware store. And there's another one on the other side here.
Did you have to clip it twice there, Nathan?
I don't think so.
Right here, Nathan.
I'll take care of that part. And I've been told we can just pull it back. Unless you guys want me to pull it back so you can see it.
No, we can see it after.
I haven't seen it yet either. It's a mystery to me. I can hear him now. That looks pretty cool. So we'll see how my reading skills are. And for those of you who can't see it, I'll read it for you. The plaque is titled Remembering a Hero. Greg Montalbano was born and raised here in Westboro. As a child, Greg enjoyed all sports and the outdoors, but his true passion was always baseball. The story of a true hero began right here at this field on Upton Road, where Greg pitched his first Little League game in 1988. Greg pitched his way to St. John's High School and on to Northeastern University. It was at Northeastern where Greg was first diagnosed with testicular cancer. His determination and courage were demonstrated early on in his first game back from chemotherapy. He took the ball for Northeastern in the 7th inning with the bases loaded and no one out in the America East Conference Championship game. Greg struck out the side and 7 of the last 9 batters to preserve the win. Throughout his college career, chemotherapy and surgery never kept Greg from dominating hitters. He became one of the best pitchers in Northeastern history, earning All-American honors his junior and senior seasons. In 1999, Greg's childhood dream came true when he was drafted by the Boston Red Sox. In 2001, Greg was named the Boston Red Sox Minor League Pitcher of the Year. In the following season, he was scheduled to play for AAA Pawtucket, one step away from the mound in Fenway Park. Unfortunately, Greg's health problems returned, and his career with the Red Sox would end. Refusing to give up his dream, Greg signed on to pitch with the Worcester Tornadoes of the Can-Am League. He pitched exceptionally well for the Tornadoes, helping them win the Can-Am League championship in 2005. Sadly, in 2006, his illness ended his baseball career for good. Greg Montalbano was an inspiration and role model who loved helping others. Although he never stepped foot on a major league mound, his message of awareness, hope, and optimism influenced us all. He addressed young men about his cancer and was an active spokesman for the Jimmy Fund. Greg was a hero both on and off the field and never gave up on life or his dreams. He took advantage of every opportunity presented to him and encouraged others to do the same. It is fitting that his legacy be honored right here on Upton Road at his first home field. The last thing I want to say is thank you for everybody that contributed and helped in the editing, because I'm sure if it was up to me, the Board of Selectmen would probably review the reading and writing curriculum in the Westboro High School system and probably try to revoke my diploma at the same time. So thank you everybody for coming, and I appreciate everything the committee's done, and to all of you that donated. Thank you.
They're kind of dull scissors, Andy. Again, thank you all. And now officially, welcome everyone to Greg's Field. Thank you.